Welcome to Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Eric Allen and Quincy Enunwa here inside our Florham Park studios. The New York Jets fall to the Jacksonville Jaguars tonight by 19-3 score. Quincy, it started out great for the Jets. Quinnen Williams back in the lineup. His 12th sack is a strip sack. The Jets recover deep inside Jacksonville territory. They settle for a field goal, and from there, it was all Jaguars.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I'm trying to be as even-keeled as possible while we do the show, but, it's hard to do that. I'm a passionate Jets follower now, after playing for so long, and I hate to see results like this. I've been in games like this. It's hard to play in a game like this. I like that they had a little bit of a spark when Streveler came in, but those are the things that you need to do from the jump. Regardless of who's at quarterback, regardless of what's going on in the game, you need to be tuned into the game from the beginning to the end.
All right, let's bring in Anthony Becht right now. AB, it has been rotating quarterbacks throughout the year for the New York Jets, and tonight was no different. Zach Wilson gets the start. Robert Saleh said after the game they intended to have a run package for Chris Streveler, but the Jets actually started to move the ball down the field, so they kept Streveler in the game. Unfortunately for the green and white, they got 3 points in this game.
Yeah, I was kind of befuddled tonight in general with the offensive plan. I'm not quite sure what exactly the plan was to get Zach Wilson in a flow so that he could have some type of success, in particular the constraints of the weather and everything. I saw one side of the football offensively with a quarterback who didn't really throw the ball downfield. Quick passing game, mixed in with a run, booted the quarterback, ran the quarterback. And then I see on our side, none of the abilities that Zach Wilson has were used. Right. The first play call of the game was a read option with a quarterback run for no gain. I'm not quite sure why. Why is that an option? Start Streveler in that situation if you're going to do that kind of play. But what is the flow here? Listen, Zach is not playing well, period. But I'm going to tell you right now, the line was bad tonight from start to finish. Protections, run blocking, sustaining blocks, giving your quarterback a chance, giving your back a chance to get to the line of scrimmage was non-existent. Penalties were impeding the ability for this offense to get in a situation where your play caller could play a formidable play. And then from there, no answers as far as how to get your quarterback in a groove today. Look, Mike LaFleur has done overall, since he has done a great job calling plays when he's in a great flow. Today, when you got some ups and downs and some battles and some things going on, you got to find a way to jumpstart your QB and your offense. But quite frankly, like I said, from top to bottom, if it's not working, the ship isn't going. And today there were a lot of leaky gas lines in the offense today that really just paralyzed this entire team from start to finish.
Yeah, and Quincy, it was just not the offense that had the difficulties today. Anthony mentioned Doug Peterson before the game, and he called a tremendous game for the Jaguars. And they pounded the football against the Jets defense that throughout the year had won at the line of scrimmage. I think, gentlemen, tonight we can clearly say Jacksonville won this game on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think AB made some great points. I mean, Doug Peterson called a great game for this Jags offense. There was a whole bunch of meshes. They made sure that they were picking off guys while they were running in man. They had a great job. They did a great job of running the ball. They even had their quarterback running the ball. He was all over the place. I mean, it was just an ugly game for the Jets defense. They could not get anything going, and they were getting pushed back. Every time the ball was snapped, they were 3 yards off the ball. I mean, that's not how you're going to get any success on this in the NFL. It's not going to work. So, I mean, we were excited for Quincy to get back. We were hoping that there was going to be a lot more of a push, a lot more of effort from the Jets defense, but it looked even worse this week. I don't know what was going on there. They could not figure out how to stop any of these plays. Evan Ingram, if you watch the film, you know that they're going to go to him. The last two games, he has been getting the ball so many times. I think he's the most targeted guy on the team the last 2 weeks. So you have to know that they're going to try to figure out a way to get him the ball, and they did that today, and there was just no answer for it.
Speaking of the Jets defense, our own Ethan Greenberg talked to the defensive captain, Pro Bowler C.J. Mosley, after the game.
Here with linebacker C.J. Mosley. C.J., as a leader on this team, what's your message to the guys after a loss like this?
I mean, obviously it was a tough loss. Been on a losing streak the last few weeks, but at the end of the day, we got to own up to it. Tonight wasn't our night. I feel like we all feel like we got beat on all levels. They came out with more intensity. They executed better. They did the little things more than we did. So, we got to own up to it, and we got to come in tomorrow. Watch the film because we got two more playoff teams that we're going against. So, we don't have any time to feel sorry for ourselves and start talking about like what's going on here and there. We just really got to own up to things that we made. Understand that in order to get to the playoffs and be a playoff team, we got to beat playoff teams in the regular season and late in December. So that's just what it comes down to.
Feels like defensively speaking, you really haven't had a performance like tonight in terms of, or at least in a long time. From your perspective, what do you feel like happened defensively, or was it something that the Jaguars did offensively that had the number?
They execute their game plan well, so you got to give them. Excuse me, got to give him credit for that. But Trevor did a great job getting out of pocket, making plays with his feet, avoiding the sack. So, I mean, like I said, just got to give credit to them. They executed better than we did.
It feels like on one end, it's nice to have 10 days to reset the body. On the other end, you have the sour taste in your mouth for longer. How do you balance the two of those, and how do you close the gap from what happened, let's say, today to going back to your winning ways?
We got a little break. We got Christmas in the middle of that. So, after tomorrow, we get a time with our family or, our loved ones. But after that, we're right back to work. So, we still got 2 games left. We're going up to Seattle, very tough environment, very tough team, fight for the playoffs. So, we don't pretty much after Friday, we don't really have time to, just keep dwelling on why we lost and, what happened tonight. So, we just got to move forward, stay confident, and, own up to all our responsibilities.
Awesome, CJ. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
You're watching Jets Overtime presented by Sirius XM. Eric Allen and Quincy Enunwa here inside the studio. My takeaway from that, C.J. Mosley said they had more intensity than us.
Yeah.
How concerning is that at this point of the season, with a game of that kind of magnitude for the Jets, they couldn't match the intensity of a team who came into your building?
Yeah, I mean, I said it last week. I felt like the magic was kind of dying, and it feels like it's kind of fizzling out now. They can't. The way that they've been winning games is just not going to continue to work. It's been great to be fourth quarter teams, but that's just not. It's not sustainable, right? Like, it was going for a long time, and they were doing a great job with that. But it's not something that they can continue to do. They need to start fast, and it's not happening for this Jets team. I said it last week, and Zach is not the answer for that right now. Streveler came in and provided a spark. Maybe he could have provided a spark in the beginning of the game. Who knows? But they just need to figure out a way to start strong.
All right, let's get to the turning point right now as we bring back Anthony Becht. AB, it's a 3-3 game late in the first quarter. The Jets down a punt at the Jacksonville 4-yard line, and the Jaguars went down the field 96 yards in all, and that drive culminated on a 1-yard dive from their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, look, they dinked and dunked. They rolled out. They played smart, long, extended drives, and their quarterback made plays with his legs. I mean, this is kind of like what thought you were going to see on our end, those kind of drives, those kind of plays. This is why I talked about the spotlight with Peterson versus the Jets defense. The Jets defense has been arguably the best in the NFL. But at the same token, when you're going up against a play caller, someone as good as Doug Peterson, where are the tweaks and what are you going to be prepared for when they attack you? Because they're going to have a plan for you. All right, they're going to know your strengths. They're going to know where they can attack and where they can't attack, because that's what he does. That's why he's he's one of the few play callers, head coaches in the league that can call plays and manage games and do all those things. So clearly, you heard CJ talk about they executed their plan to the T. So, that was one big drive. It clearly was a turning point because that was the most, I think, was their biggest drive over 95 yards since like 2018. I thought I saw on the screen when they did it. I mean, that was maybe their most aggressive trench winning drive performance all the way through of the season. But at that point, it's like throughout this whole game, you were still kind of in this game all the way through the fourth quarter. You were 2 scores away at any given time where you could have put, even when Streveler came in and he could have possibly scored, you're a score away. Who knows what would have happened, right? So, it wasn't some type of blowout. I think the disappointment was the ability to just execute at any level at all. You couldn't hang your hat on anything. And let's be perfectly honest, guys. The season turned. We talk about the turning point of the game. Now we can really go back. The season turned for this offense and for really, quite frankly, Zach Wilson when Breece Hall got hurt. I mean, that's when this significantly changed what this offense could be from an identity standpoint and the things that really Zach could become from those pieces of the puzzle. And then as the season has gone on, you're just dealing with so many other issues now, compiling with the stresses, the pressures of the fans and the media and all those things. Whether you're hearing the noise or it's affecting you or not, it's there, right? So it's become a common opponent. And me and Q know that's New York ball, man. That's how it rolls. Some guys are made for it, some guys aren't. And I'm not talking about the QB in general, but that's who's going to get the magnifying side of it. I mean, every little thing out there, it's just QB this, QB that, but yet the offensive line breaks down. You don't hear any of those things. So it's a total group effort in a failure today from top to bottom, like I mentioned, but there's no way Zach had a chance from the get-go to be successful in this game. I don't know if anybody could outside of the fact that Streveler could run. If he couldn't run, Streveler would have been in the same situation as Zach Wilson.
Q, what do you think about AB's point there about Breece Hall? The Jets, when Hall went down in Denver, were 5-2. Now we're talking about a team that is 2-6 in its last 8 games, and unfortunately, at this point in the season, it seems like they're regressing.
Yeah, no, it's a really great point. I didn't even think about that, but Breece Hall is definitely. He was a big part. I think we knew that when it happened. The offense completely changed as soon as he went down. They tried to figure out what they were going to do next, and it just never looked the same. It never looked solid. Zonovan Knight gave a noble effort, came in and did what he needed to do, but he just was not Breece Hall. And, we see how important he is now. We know going into this next year what he's going to do for this offense, but right now there's no answer. Matt LaFleur has not been able to find an answer. They haven't been able to substitute the success that Breece Hall had. And another thing I want to talk about this drive, 96 yards, that was more than the Jets had completely the whole first half. I mean, they got all of that in one drive. I think they even had more plays in that drive than the Jets had the whole time. Probably more time of possession. It was just bad effort. They couldn't get anything going. Just like you said, AB, they had the penalties, just too many things piling on top of it to make Zach look like the worst guy here. But ultimately, it was just a bad team effort.
Yeah, during the broadcast, Al Michaels was talking about the Jets' rush total of 4 yards in that opening half was their lowest or fewest since 2002. That's 20 years. As far as the scoring summary is concerned, the Jets actually got on the board first in this game with the Greg Zuerlein field goal. From there, it was 19 unanswered points from the visitors, 4 field goals, and the Lawrence 1-yard dive was the game winner. All right, let's bring in Ethan Greenberg from MetLife Stadium. Greens, you wrote about it early in the week. When the Jets have success, they run the football. What can you say about the discrepancy on both sides of the ball tonight?
Yeah, it was a big discrepancy. I mean, just look at the first half numbers alone. The Jets ran for 4 yards. The Jacksonville Jaguars ran for 115 of their 147 yards in the first 2 quarters. That pretty much set the tone. Travis Etienne, a big factor again for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they had a 16-play, 96-yard drive that really, I think you could feel set the tone in the game a little bit, and it was just like a grueling drive for the Jets defense. Couldn't get off the field on that drive. They let up 41 yards on 3rd down on the previous drive. So in terms of running the football, the Jets want to run the football. It's been their key to success all year. Like you said, like I wrote earlier this week, 5-1 when they eclipse 100 yards, which isn't even like a crazy number, but they really couldn't find success on the ground today while the Jacksonville Jaguars did. And, of course, that's reflected in the final score.
Hey, you were at the stadium tonight, up in the press box nonetheless. What did you think about the reaction when Robert Saleh brought Chris Streveler into the game in the third quarter? We saw that snap he got in the second quarter, but didn't get a playoff because of the false start. But the Jets finally started having some success moving the football, and it was Streveler largely on the ground.
Well, even in the second quarter when he came in the game, there was a pretty big uproar, like in a good way, that he was entering the game and then the false start happened. But in the third quarter, when he got in, the fans, one, were very excited. But from our perspective, or from my perspective in the press box, I looked at Zach Wilson immediately on the sideline, and it looked like that he was almost getting ready to come back in. Like, this is just going to be a play or two, and then he'll come back in. But then Streveler started to get some things going, started to build some momentum, started to work his way down the field, and it felt like that Zach Wilson just didn't get another opportunity to get back on the field because of the spark that Streveler provided. And Robert Saleh said that originally Streveler was going in the game to try to provide a spark on the ground because the Jets, like we just talked about, wanted to have success on the ground. And once he started going, it was hard for the coaching staff to pull him back off the field, and therefore he finished the remaining quarter.
Let's end right here. A sensational season for Garrett Wilson. The last 2 weeks, we saw him set the rookie receiving yardage mark, and that was followed by the rookie reception mark against the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions. He almost got another record tonight, but we'll have to wait till next week, right?
Yeah, it was close because in the fourth quarter, so let's preface this, he needed 34 yards to break 1,000 yards to become the first Jets rookie receiver in history to ever do so, and he got 31 yards because in the fourth quarter there was a 9-yard reception that he ended up coughing up the rock. The Jaguars recover. They end up scoring a field goal to go up 19-3. And in the press box, you didn't know how far the pass was because Streveler kind of ran around out of the pocket a little bit. And so Garrett Wilson was very close, and it would have been a shame, I feel like, to have such a successful rookie season be overshadowed by one play like that was a fumble, and then to have 1,000 yards on that play. Luckily, that did not happen. He's 3 yards away, so you would imagine that after this 10 days rest, which, by the way, is kind of a double-edged sword because it's nice for the body to get 10 days rest, but also from a perspective when you're on a losing skid, you want to get the sour taste out of your mouth quickly, and the Jets have to wait a little longer to try to do that in Seattle, which is a tough place to play. All this to say, you would imagine Garrett Wilson will break the 1,000-yard receiving record in 10 days in Seattle to become the first Jets receiver as a rookie in franchise history to do so.
The Jets tonight were 3 of 18 on third and fourth downs. Conversely, Jacksonville, 7 of 16 on third down. There is a huge rushing discrepancy, and Trevor Lawrence, he made plays when he had to, whether it was with his feet or through the air. He finishes 20 of 31 for 229 yards. Zach Wilson and Chris Streveler combined 19 of 33 for 182 yards. They were sacked 3 times. Lawrence sacked just once. All right, Q, let's get to the film. We're powered by Microsoft Surface as always. The Jets needed a spark in this game in the second half, and Robert Saleh went to Chris Streveler, and Streveler got it going on the ground, and the Jets needed that.
Yeah, and so shout out to Mike LaFleur, for coming up with a play that was used against them last week. So on this play, what you're going to see is you're going to see a motion come across here. You're going to see Garrett Wilson come across, and you're going to see C.J. Uzomah block and then get upfield. This is very similar to the fourth down play that the Lions ran against the Jets last week. So here it goes here. The block, just like last week, causes the defense to not know what's going on, and he gets to slip through while everybody is going this way. Wide open down the middle. You see him. Unfortunately, Streveler wasn't able to get it out there to him, but it's a great play call, great creativity from the Jets right here. So here he is right here going down the field. wide open. This could have been a touchdown, could have been a big play for the Jets, especially with Streveler coming in. They needed a spark, and he was helpful and provided that for them.
Yeah, initially, Robert Saleh just wanted to bring Streveler in there as a package to get the run game going,
Right.
but there is a long completion to C.J. Uzomah. He led a long drive and decided to stick with him, and he had 9 carries for 54 yards today. And the thing about Streveler is he's a gamer. He puts his head down, and he's not afraid to take on tacklers and truck some guys.
Yes, just like this here. And that's one of the things I like about Strev. We saw it in the preseason. He's a guy that when nothing is there, he's not afraid to put his head down and go make a play. So you're going to see everybody here. He might have had a pass here. This guy was covered here. He says, okay, you know what, forget about it. 2nd and 23, I'm going to try to do it with my legs. Not only does he try to do it with his legs, he puts his head down, and he's a tough guy. Tough guy at quarterback. It's a guy that you don't want to tackle because he's not afraid of contact.
Listen, a tough situation for any quarterback sitting there in the rain and the elements that come in the game. And he almost led the Jets down the field for a touchdown. That would really change the dynamic of the game because that would have made it 16-10, but all for naught for the Jets today. They lose 19-3. After the game, the voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen, talked to Chris Streveler.
Chris, how do you balance, I'm sure, the emotions of as disappointing a loss as that was for this team, you living out a dream and getting to go out there and play?
I mean, it's disappointing all around. It's we just didn't execute well. We just didn't put points on the board. 3 points isn't going to win games, and I got to be better. We just got to execute better. So that's really the feeling right now.
It seemed like if there was one moment you'd probably want to have back when you saw CJ wide open over the middle, pulled the string a little bit because he probably is a walk-in touchdown
100%.
if you can put it on him.
100%. Just kind of babied it out there. Didn't want to overthrow him, make a bad throw. He makes a great catch, and definitely would like to have that one back. And I think we're all looking in the mirror right now, looking at plays that we wish we had back.
Having said that, though, you've got 2 games left, both on the road, and if you win them both, there's still at least a better than maybe average possibility of making the playoffs if you get some help. So what was the message from Coach Saleh to this team in the locker room after, I'm sure, it's probably mentally tough to rebound when you have a night like that?
I mean, we're going to come in tomorrow. We got to look in the mirror tonight, watch the film tomorrow, and as always, just get things corrected that need to be corrected. And, playoffs or not, whatever that situation is, we got to go out and execute. And offensively, we got to go out and score points, and we got to get better. And today just wasn't good enough. So, we have a team of fighters, guys that are going to come in, continue to work, and get better. And that's the expectation.
All right, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The Jets fall to the Jacksonville Jaguars by 19-3 score at MetLife Stadium. The green and white now 7-8. I got to give a lot of props to Streveler. Nice job with you on the telestration. Good interview from Wischusen there. Listen, that's not easy to be sitting on the bench, getting elevated from the practice squad, coming in the third quarter, leading a team that was taking a lot of punches, was against the ropes, down the field a couple times. And it would have been really something if they got into the end zone to see what the stadium would have been like and what the team would have looked like if they had actually cut that deficit to 16-10.
Yeah, definitely. And you could tell he had a limited playbook. So for him to go out there and still able to find some success with the plays that he was given, I mean, it's encouraging. It was something that the Jets needed at that time. I would have loved to see him score a touchdown or at least put 3 points on the board. See where the game would have ended up just off of that.
Yeah, and Wischusen pointed that out, they brought it up with him. Maybe, hey, listen, you lead Uzomah there, like you had said.
Right.
And that's a touchdown. Corey Davis had one that he would want back inside the red zone. That preceded a 4th and 2 incomplete pass to Garrett Wilson. But the Jets just needed something on the ground. So I kind of understand where Robert Saleh is coming from, where he says, yeah, we had a small package installed for him, but we're moving the ball, so let's just roll at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also kind of curious, because Zach has the ability to run with his, run the ball. I wonder why he's not given more opportunities. I mean, whether or not he's going to get more from here on out. I am kind of curious maybe they don't want him to get hurt. Well, who knows what it is? I mean, he's definitely not a Streveler runner, right? Like, he's not going to go out there and put his head down.
Yeah.
But he has the ability to run the ball, so.
Watching Streveler is like watching a tight end or a linebacker sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. He doesn't play like a quarterback.
No, and he is a gamer. Okay, speaking of gamers, let's get to our report cards and start with you, Anthony Becht.
First, I got a comment before we go. You guys can't honestly think that's a sustainable thing for a quarterback to do. It was a package, ended up being a quarter and a half of banging yourself into a car crash every time you ran. I mean, like, I love, great, but like, come on, man, like, the kid is like, that's dangerous, what we watched him do today. I mean, the effort's there, but I mean, I think we rally around that. That's all nice, but like,
but that's the way he played that's the way he played in the preseason, don't you think?
I understand, but he didn't have a capacity of plays until they got to the 2-minute opportunity where they could really do things. But I mean, they basically ran the same play 15 times.
Exactly.
And, he was taken off if he didn't have the pass. So
very limited.
Look, I get it. One game he's going to be fine. 2-3 games in a row doing that. That's dangerous. But back to the grades.
Oh, no, hold on. That's fine. Fine. You go to the grades, and then we'll get back to further conversation about the quarterback spot.
Well, you didn't let me talk much in that segment, so I had to kick that in there on the
All
back
right, let's go. Let's go. You're great.
Great draw up, though. It was really good, Q. I love it. So, offensively, guys, it was an F. I mean, there's nothing there, and I really don't even count Streveler because again, the game was in hand, and I was just kind of disappointed from top to bottom. I was disappointed in the trench play today by the offensive lineman. I was disappointed in the ability to get the run game going. I was disappointed in the ability, to get Zach in a rhythm, and that affected the play caller. And now, as I watch Zach in that game, I worry about a couple things. I worry about his confidence level. I could tell in his eyes when things didn't go well, when it wasn't his fault. And I could tell in his eyes when he knew, like, okay, people don't understand that wasn't my fault, but now that one was, and he wasn't able to make that play. That's scary for me because now I wonder where his mind is mentally to maybe keep going the last 2 games. So that's obviously going to be a big question mark. And, I know I initially said that he should play it out, but after what I saw today, I'm not quite sure that may be the answer for him the last 2 games. Defensively was a D. It was their best D minus. Was their worst performance of the year by far. They were just out game planned, out schemed. They missed several tackles. There were some splash plays in there. Q obviously coming in, man. The game could have went so much differently if something were to happen after Q's big play. But he basically went out there in his limited snaps and dominated the football game. I thought Whitehead played well early, but overall the defense that's not the defense we've come to see and know. And somebody caught up to him offensively and schemed them and was able to take advantage of some of those areas where they felt like they could take advantage of it. And I went with a C minus with special teams. The reason why, guys, is because this entire season, I really don't see that the special teams has done anything in a positive sense to do or help this offense or defense, whether that be flip the field, anything like that. If you make your kicks and all that stuff and you get a clean punt, we're normally giving you guys A's, B. But you know what? Like, we needed that phase to do something different in a positive sense. And that wasn't there today, So from now moving forward, they need to, a trick play, anything to spark something to help either side, offense or defensively, because it's just not there. They're just kind of a phase right now. They're not a phase that's changing the complexion of the game. They're just kind of showing up, and that's it, which is fine. But now it's like you need something to happen on that side of the ball.
Yeah, we've been talking about complimentary football all season long, and when the Jets were winning, they were playing complimentary football. When the Jets are losing, they are not playing complimentary football. And one thing that's failing them right now is that the defense struggled for their standards tonight. They struggled big time, and unfortunately, the Jets just don't have a unit that can pick them up right now. That's where we're living at the current state of time. Quincy, how about your report card?
So I don't think I'm going to have a lot to explain about the grades. I just want to briefly say, we hold these guys to high standards. So, the grades come because we want to see them do well. And this isn't even I try to keep each game in a vacuum and not think about the whole picture. But when you think about the Jets defense, and I'll start there, I gave them a D because of what they've shown us this whole year. They've shown us so many things that have said, like, this is a great defense. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL. This is a playoff defense, a championship defense. So for them to put this product out here, while the playoffs are on the line, while all these factors are there, to come out after last week and come this week and put this product out there in a short week, it's unacceptable. I think even if I was in the locker room, I would say the same thing. We look to these guys to do exactly what they do week in and week out, and for them to do this against an offense that is a great offense, right? They have a lot of talent, they got a lot of playmakers, but this just wasn't good enough. Then with the offense, I gave them a D. They just couldn't get anything going. The run game was bad. There was no passing. There was no passing game. Everything was just bad. So I don't want to talk too much about that. Shout out to Streveler for coming in and giving them a spark, but it just wasn't good enough. Special teams, I gave them a C. Special teams, I gave them a C. But it would have been nice to see something. You had the penalty. You had a shank punt. So yeah, it just wasn't good enough.
All right. So speaking of sparks, the Jets got a spark from Chris Streveler tonight. Anthony Becht is providing a lot of sparks on Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. And there's going to be some fireworks on the other side of this interview. But first, let's get to Caroline Hendershot at the stadium.
Here with tight end Tyler Conklin. Tyler, what was Coach Saleh's message to the team after today's loss?
Yeah, there's a couple things. First, we got to figure it out. As a team in all phases. Special teams, defense, offense. We obviously didn't play the standard that we wanted to play to, and we got to go and look ourselves in the mirror and reevaluate that. But also that we got 2 games left, and how do we want this season to finish off? Right, we can still finish the season with a winning record, and I don't know how the whole playoff picture works right now, but I'm pretty sure if we go and win these next 2, there's probably a possibility in there somewhere. So we need to take care of business and go day by day, week by week, and finish the season strong.
What are some of those particulars that looks like completing that next step and taking that next leap to help you guys win those games in the future?
Yeah, I think we got to play complementary football, right? We got to play good in all phases one of these games. The offense needs to play well, the defense needs to play well, special teams. We've had so many games where maybe the defense plays really well and keep us in the game, or we have a good game, or we need to bring it all together one of these weeks, and I think once we do that, we can be special. We just got to do that.
You talked about those next 2 games. Next one is in 10 days on the road in Seattle. How nice is it to have you just come off a short week and then you have 10 days to regroup and reset?
Yeah, it's going to be nice to be able to reset. It's also a long way to go and try to get a bad taste out of your mouth. So there's a pro and there's a con. But, I do think we need to reset, watch the film, individually and as a unit, look ourselves in the mirror, figure out what we got to do. But I'm excited to go play again and get these losses kind of over with, I guess.
You are watching Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. Eric Allen, joined as always by Anthony Becht and Quincy Enunwa. The Jets now, after 4 consecutive losses, are 7-8. And let's take a look at the AFC playoff picture. Anthony, 4 weeks ago in Minnesota, the Jets are a play away from moving to 8-4. Now all of a sudden they're under 500, and they would need a ton of help in order to reach the postseason. But for this team right now, 2-6 in its last 8 games on a 4-game losing streak, they just got to find a way to put one together and get back in the win column.
Yeah, honestly, as I look at this, they're not going to catch the Chargers, but I think they can fall in front of those 2 other teams, the Dolphins and the Patriots. So, that's a pretty damn easy schedule for the Chargers with the Colts, Rams, and Broncos.
Yep.
Anything can happen, of course. And if it does, it really doesn't matter what they do because the Jets have to take care of business. But, again, you're sitting in good company. But, again, look, there's a possibility. I don't know what the tiebreaker situation was, but if the Jets were to win out, and they tied the Dolphins in record, they would have 2 wins over the Dolphins, right? So, and I could definitely see, the Jags could lose 1 game and the Patriots could lose at least 1 or 2 games. So, it's still feasible, but at the end, you got to find a way to win one game at this point.
Right. I mean, the bottom line is you got to beat Seattle. And for that game to mean anything in Miami and South Florida in Week 18, Quincy, the Dolphins they definitely have to lose a game because they're 8-6 right now. You're 7-8. If Green Bay doesn't beat Miami and Miami goes and beats the New England Patriots the following week, Miami's going to be there at 10-6. You can't catch them. You can't.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough sledding. I think they just got to take it week by week at this point. You know, you can't even look ahead. You just can't even hope for anybody else. The Jets just need to win out. You know, let the chips fall where they may, and just focus on each week. You know, they have the Seahawks next week, and in Seattle, so that's going to be a tough one. But it's one that they can win if they play complementary football. I mean, that's been a theme of this show, right? They have not played complementary football, and so they need to go out there and do exactly what they know they need to do.
All right, Anthony, where are the Jets at the quarterback position right now? And where do you think they might be in 2 weeks as they head into the offseason, if the season does end in 2 weeks?
The only thing that's helping Zach right now is that they have an away game coming up. That may be a glimpse of shining light for him to potentially play. To be quite frank with you, though, if Mike White is healthy, I think he'll be the quarterback on the field against the Seahawks. And if that's the case, I think Zach would be done for the season. It's been a tough road, okay? They have not played well as an offense, period, let alone when he's been on the game. And unfortunately, because of the circumstances around his situation, it's regressed him as a player. And there's a lot of issues right now. He's forcing play. I mean, you know, there was a couple throw-up balls today. And quite frankly, I just feel like he's just trying to do anything at this point. But there's nothing there to sustain a flow for him and everybody else to do well right now. So, and it really is affecting everything. The stems of it are touching coordinator, linemen, backs, everything, and everybody's responsible for it, not the quarterback. So, but unfortunately, the quarterback isn't playing well because of it. Functionally, offensively, from what we've seen so far this season and lately, Mike White gives the best chance for this offense to function at the level where everyone's comfortable. Why? Who knows? Those are the answers internally the team has to figure out moving forward. But that's how I see it. There is a glimmer of hope for Zach, because it is an away game, because you get away from the elements of the home environment. But I think the right call right now, if Mike's healthy and he's there's no restrictions on him, then he would probably finish the season out the last 2 games.
AB, great job from you as always. Quincy, what do you think about Anthony's thoughts there? Robert Saleh said after this game, he's not ready to commit to a quarterback next week because White still has to clear medical hurdles in order to be ready for action.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what AB's saying. I think it makes sense for Coach Saleh to be non-committal because you don't know. Fractured ribs, we're learning, so who knows how long it's going to take for him to get back. Ultimately, AB said all those things that make a lot of sense for this team. Zach, there's a lot of factors that are making Zach not be able to play at the level that we want him to play at. I can even think about one play. There was 3rd and 1. I mean, it was a shotgun play, and they have Zach throwing the ball down the field. It didn't even look like there was an option for him to throw it closer. So I think it's not just Zach, right? There's so many other things going on with the play calling, with the blocking, with the flow of the game, penalties, so many different things going on that are just not allowing him to play at his best, but those things aren't stopping Mike White from playing at his best. So, I think if you look at those 2 things, it's probably best for them to play Mike White.
Yeah, it was a tough night all around for the New York Jets. First primetime game this season, and they didn't put their best foot forward on all levels. Jacksonville came in, and they outplayed them, and now the Jets are 7-8, 4-game losing streak. They get the weekend off. They'll be back at it, and they'll have to prepare for the Seattle Seahawks, who are fighting for their playoff lives. From everybody here at One Jets Drive, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thanks for watching.